The following audio may contain coarse language and other material that may not be suitable for a younger audience. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, we may spoil anything and everything, so you have been warned. Unbelievable violence. Bang, boom, pow. Yeah, I know. If you actually watched this movie before you read this recording, we realize you're probably a wee bit sick. So if you can just bear with us and listen to us, we might help you get a little bit more grounded and maybe try not to throw up on your mic. So thank you guys. Introducing today for the Movie Gang podcast, we have a shortened crew. It looks like the gaming crew, actually, so that's pretty appropriate for Hardcore Henry. First up, we have Peter.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? Hope you're doing well. Listen.
Yeah. And then we got Ben.
Hello, everybody. I did not throw up once, so I think that's good, right?
Actually neither did I, and so I didn't get a headache or anything.
Yeah.
And
I'm your host.
Me and Jack.
I realize that you guys always do this. I never introduce myself in any of these shows.
Oh,
so
that's
damn
true.
it, I'm going to introduce
You're
myself
the host.
now.
Go ahead.
Just
Yeah,
I am Jack.
Go ahead.
I am Jack, guys. So I'm just saying, I'm here.
You
Right.
honestly could start like,
I'm
hey,
always
everybody,
here.
this is Jack, and we're going to introduce the rest of the cast. I'm surprised.
Exactly.
That's really true. You
It's
haven't.
you run it.
That's actually
No,
true.
I
It's really
just,
weird.
I listened to like last 3 episodes and I realized like I didn't introduce myself like once.
No one knows who you are. You're just this guys.
It's probably
listeners. Jack is just the voice. So you know.
Yeah.
I'm just the guy that's interrupting everyone else.
Who is this asshole?
Motherfucker. Well, if you can't guess, we watched Hardcore Henry, and so this week we'll be talking about the experience. And if for anyone else that hasn't seen Hardcore Henry, it's that stupid GoPro movie. So for everyone else,
We're starting out strong.
that stupid
great.
GoPro
I
movie
didn't even
that
think of
ruined
that.
my fantasy movie league. So great.
Jack just salty because we all lost on Hardcore Henry over Fantasy Movie League.
GoPro movie. Honestly, you just sold it to me. That was beautiful.
Yeah. All right.
What,
So
you
we
mean The
got first
Hobbit?
up. We're not gonna be negative on it. We're gonna go through the experience and talk about it seriously here for a sec. So, I think first up for the positives, I'm gonna take a dump all over Peter's chest. What did you like about this movie, Peter?
Honestly, the thing I like most about it was just that like especially from the trailer when I first saw the trailer to now, I was able to just reference or think of different video games that I have either played or have seen before that I saw what was happening on screen and thought, oh, I can think of this game, I can think of this game, I can think of this game, and at least for the time being, it was a fun-ish ride. It's just that when I walked out of it and thought about it, like 2 hours later, I was like, you know what, that was actually a little shitty. I know you two are gonna say very shitty, but for me, at least for the time being, I enjoyed it. So
Yeah, mine was the opposite, where it went from this was kind of shitty to this was really shitty.
That's
So I don't know
fine.
if you want me to go straight into bad or not, Jack.
That's fine.
I mean, yeah, go ahead, lay it down, Ben, and I'll come in halfway, and we'll try to like pry these thoughts apart. All right,
Yeah,
you go.
because I do want to talk some things I like about the movie, and it's one of those things of like, you tried. You know what I mean? It's very much a you tried movie.
It worked a lot better as a 12-minute music video. I'll say that.
Oh,
Definitely.
I really do like the concept of the things they're doing, and it's just this one bit thing stretched out to a movie that just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's just once you put it on 3,000 screens, you really see on the big screen, you really see the problem. So the main issue really is that it's just, like I said to Jack and other people before, it reminds me of like a movie that like cool skater friends make, where like, look, guy, we took a GoPro and put it on our head and we ran downstairs and like threw ourselves off a train. You're like, dude, you're crazy. Like, it's cool when you're with friends and you see that because you know those guys. But when you're trying to see a movie that's trying to tell a story and be interesting and inventive and good action, it doesn't work. And
trying to be appealing to a very wide audience that doesn't play video games.
Yeah, and the problem is not just that it doesn't look like video games, it's that GoPros are just bad cameras for this. They're great for like a YouTube video or a music video of like, oh, cool guys running on the thing, but like they're just terrible when you blow them up to 100-foot screen
Shoot a movie in 1080. You just can't. Like,
and you can't
it
have
just
it go
looks
for 2
terrible.
hours.
there's so much motion blur. It's so
And I'm
hard
sure-
to follow the action. It's just
For the
everything
record,
felt
though, I'm sure
cheap.
this was shot in like 4K GoPro capability, but like it just looks like that. And
Well,
the
this looks
issue
like
is
there's
like,
zero color correction. It just looks so cheap. Like it's just so cheap looking, and it's
Well, it
just
was.
the
It
nature
was.
of the problem. Yeah, with the GoPro.
well, what the reported budget of this movie is $10 million, and that's untrue because it got into a bit of a bidding war. So this movie had to have been made on less than $10 million.
It was
I've seen-
Kickstartered, so it has to be less. You know.
Well,
Kickstarter
I've
can't
seen
even make $10
estimates. I've seen estimates. This movie was made on $2 million.
million. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's the thing is like it reminds me of a student film that I did in college, and that's not to say like,
student
obviously
film constantly
I didn't
in my
make
head.
anything remotely this good, but I think
No,
the
for sure.
issue like I did it. I mean, fuck it, dude.
Yeah.
Don't be
I made
modest.
I made my film on $200, like, and
But
like
there are those
favors.
elements which I'll get to. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I made it on like I think like in the end I like had a little piece that said I made this film on $200 and ruined friendships.
The boom guy won't talk to me anymore.
I put Will's head through a wall. I remember that.
Oh,
Very American.
He got
movie.
a serious concussion, and then I made him like go back because I had to go edit, and so he went back to the apartment, and like before the people got home, who we let us use the apartment, he had to like plaster up the hole and paint over.
oh my God!
He did it with a concussion.
Oh Lord.
Wow.
It was I know it was
What a
Bobby's. I think it was
great
Bobby's
friend.
and Sarah's
It,
house.
it definitely had
actually.
those things because it reminded me of like, okay, let's go to a location where no one's gonna bother us. You know, like let's find the abandoned building, and like it had
Yeah.
that sort of like, here I got my friend has like this cool like outfit. You know, like it all felt so homemade.
Yeah,
But the
Very.
problem is it doesn't
they
feel
thought
like
of what they could
retroactively
do.
supposed to be that way. Yeah.
Exactly. They thought of what they could do before they wrote the script. And that's exactly what happened with me when I didn't have money, I didn't have time. I went and said, "Oh, I can do this with car shots. I can do this thing with this. I have this area. I have a cafe, so we're going to use a cafe even if it doesn't fit the story. I have a comm lab, so I can do this." So like
Yeah.
that's the thing is like I had access to a cool looking place that looked like a news studio, so of course my story had a news studio. Like it seemed like they had locations and areas they could use, and then they formed the plot around that. And I
Around
think
it,
that's
yeah.
that's
And
the
they're
only thing.
also in Russia, so they have very easy access to a tank.
Oh,
Well,
Yes.
I think I will say that I think that's the problem with this film is actually what they do have easy access to the tank, which is hilarious. That the fact that they have such an easy access to like a working tank on a $2 million movie. Can you imagine a $2 million
Right.
movie?
He
in the
had a
US
friend
having
who
On
just
their AMA,
had
they
a
basically
tank.
said that they just gave them the tank for the day. Like they didn't even have a handler or whatever. Like,
Hey guys, can we just rent this
Just
for
bring
a
it
couple of
back.
hours? Yeah, sure.
oh, Russia.
No, I mean this is okay. Before we get like full racist spin, I mean I do think there was an issue with gender, and I know that we both said we wish we had girls in here, but I don't really think we need girls in here to know that this movie is really sexist.
Oh my God.
I think,
Yeah,
I
it
think
literally
that's the
ends
issue.
with a killing a woman as a joke.
Well,
It's-
that pissed me off so much because I thought they were gonna do it really classy. I was gonna give them credit when she tried to shoot him and the bullet bounced off his hand and killed her. I was like, oh, that's a classy way for him to kill her, but not
Right.
actually kill her. And then like he just shut it on her fingers. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We're watching this movie. It's like, he had to like violently end her somehow. Like
Yeah,
It's like
every
I can't
single
kill
one
her
is a-
directly, so you know.
She's the only woman who's not a prostitute or a gun-toting dominatrix.
Yeah.
where did they? Why the fuck were they in there? Like Katie was with me in the movie, and she was like, "Why the fuck are they just like Russian ninjas now? Like hot Russian dominatrix ninjas? Like where did they come from?"
You
It's
know where.
like, it's like there's like a blender in somebody else's mind, and they came up with things that they have. It's like, oh, I can get some hot actresses to dress up like hookers and shoot guns. It's gonna be cool.
Right, and
Like,
Charlotte
you know-
Copley, man, it's just like, I know some people like him, but it's just the worst elements of him where it's just like, he just gets to go 100 on every single character. Like, dude, you get to be like every character you want to be. You get to just do whatever you want.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
talk about fun,
He
but
was-
man, he was
I
annoying
hate
to me.
Ben. I hate to say it, like he was the most enjoyable part of this movie.
I get that. Yeah, I feel that. It's just part of a whole. I think.
And I think there's bits in there like I would love this movie to be broken down into like separate clips and put on YouTube, because that's the way to watch this
Oh
movie.
yeah,
is,
kind of like a
that's
web
the thing.
series. Yeah.
I would really love to just see like, oh yeah, here's the car chase scene, and I watch a 10-minute car chase scene with GoPros. Like I would think that would be absolutely amazing. In the context of this movie, like you just at a certain point you just kind of get dead inside from like
Yeah.
the action and like.
I
And
know
that's
I
the thing
did.
is like at the end of the movie cannot shock you, or it just like gets super ridiculous to try and shock you. And it just doesn't succeed because like the stuff at the end when he's like jumping on the bodies like to get up there and tears out his ocular nerve to like wrap around the skull and it's supposed to go through the, like the jawbone. I was like ninja. I don't know. It's like some sort of like metal. I don't know. It makes no sense.
It was very
So-
Deus Ex Human Revolution. That
Yeah.
part. It's like, I'm taking my eye. Here we go. Let's do it.
Well, that's what the thing we wanted to talk about is how video games influence this movie and what do you think it sort of did for that. I think it was interesting, but the problem I think with it is partially that video games are more centered than this. You know what I mean? It is
Yeah.
Mhm.
easier to follow watching a video game
Yeah.
than watching this movie because
Well,
you
your actions,
minimize head
yeah.
bounce and things like that. And there were certainly elements where like he would hold the gun like you would in like GoldenEye or something like that. I don't know why I went to GoldenEye, but it's kind of the Kalishnikov, I guess, made me go to GoldenEye. I mean, there's been a million shooters since then. I'm 90 years old, everybody.
It's not- video games are not that old, Ben. We are not.
I
That
know,
bad.
but in video game terms, it's like being a 90-year-old.
I know. It's like you played the original GoldenEye. You're ancient.
I mean, honestly,
Cool,
like
dude,
some
whatever,
10-year-olds, we
bro.
will be ancient. They'll be like, what?
Exactly. But
I had a VR
there was definitely
boy.
that element in
Like,
like
you
the
guys-
waypoints and
What
things
was
like
it-
that.
What was it thing called? Oh my god! I had a VR boy back in the day. What were they?
Um,
I forget.
Virtual
what they were
Boy, the
called.
red one.
Yeah, like the big stand-up red thing that you put your head
God.
into.
Oh,
and you're
God,
just like, and there
One
was
of
like
the
it was
worst
so bad.
things.
It was the
Ugh.
worst.
And people online are like, "This VR is not realistic." Remember what I was doing?
Oh, I saw the other day in Walmart. I saw like a virtual reality headset for, like, you know, the old things where you'd put like the little round things into the thing and you'd flip it and it would show you different.
Oh, yeah, like
pictures
different
on,
pictures.
like,
Yeah,
a-
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. They had one in Django Unchained where the girl who's
Yeah, the
Tarantino's like
viewfinder.
favorite stunt actress is like looking at it, and it was branded like that company, but it was just like a VR headset that you could put your phone into. It was like $20 and I got it, and I was like, what can I do with this? And I was like, oh, I can do these experiences and I can buy them online. I was like, no, I'll go find some porn.
That's better.
And for that purposes, it works fantastic.
And that's what we're talking about instead of Hardcore Henry.
I may be just trying to.
This movie.
Honestly, porn feels less dirty than Hardcore Henry sometimes.
Oh. So many boobs.
Like, there's a majesty to taking a 10-inch cock. There's not a majesty in this movie.
Oh my god.
Oh, if only Jack was on Rotten Tomatoes, I would love to see that little blurb.
That would be lovely. Oh my god. I honestly think Jack would get like at least 100 thumbs up to that comment alone, like in 2 hours.
You think he would? He might get fired from whatever publication he was working for.
Most likely. Thank God we don't have any, like, conglomeration here.
Pepsi.
Oh,
no,
I will say beforehand, there is explicit and a trigger warning. If you want to send me junk mail about how I'm a terrible person, please do. I don't care. But I think like I do think there's like I see how this movie got to where it is and why it generated so much buzz. I see this movie being a great tonic to somebody that's on a film circuit at like a film festival. You're watching all these slow plodding films, like a very, very like, you know, film criticky type of like fare. And then you go in and watch this. And I can imagine this being like, oh, you know, it's slow, it's a low budget, but, you know, it's really fucking good for what it is. It's got an interesting gimmick. It's got all the things and elements that you want to push it above that. And then I think, well, that's why it had like an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes on early critics. And then, like, it gets into the major public, and we're just like, actually, no, this is fucking terrible, guys. like I don't
Exactly.
care.
I think it's what's tough about this movie and rating it, and I think why we're all kind of tired about it is, again, I think we've all made student films, we've all done low budget stuff. You see what they're trying to do, but it's also a certain time of like, when you put it in 3,000 theaters, and it's supposed to be this big movie that's supposed to open next to third weekend of Batman, Superman, and it's going to be all over the internet, and like, you're just like, it's a movie I would have loved to watch for you. Exactly, like I said, as a 10-minute YouTube video, it's great. As a hour and a half long movie you have to watch on a big screen, exhausting.
It's painful.
It's
I think this thing
exhausting.
is also. I think the big screen really affects. Like, I didn't get sick in this movie, but like the lack of cinematography and they still cut in this movie. That's the other thing that bothered me is the
Oh,
way
as
that
soon as
it
it cut, I was like,
cuts.
wait, what? Why are we even?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
And that's the thing is like I was really interested to see this be like a full. And I know they couldn't have done that. They would have to hide the cuts, but they
They
didn't.
had the cuts in a lot of the long takes.
But they
anyways,
didn't. They,
you know?
they did hide a lot of the cuts, but they didn't hide all the cuts. They
Exactly.
Some
they
cuts are very
showed-
purposeful, like here, we're here, we're
exactly.
here.
Like they weren't careful with it, and I realize that's a budgetary effects, and they had to do some things. But there was like some snapshots and some really good hiding. I mean, there was a lot of good bits on display. I just think all of this movie would have benefited from being shorter. And I realized that they wouldn't have made as much money, and they probably made like not 8 million, but like the movie rights to them. So the actual filmmaker probably did actually make 8 million off spending 2.
Right,
So
even though it's
if
like the
that's
5th
accurate-
worst opening ever, it's so cheap that it's gonna make money. It doesn't matter.
Well,
You know?
right,
Yeah.
right. It has to, and I would make more of this movie. Like I would like to see somebody come in and not be a dickhole about writing a script for it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like
Well, see,
make
that's the
me-
problem. That's where I started. Where I was like, okay, maybe it's just a problem of like the hardware isn't there, which I think is also true. Like,
I
think you
disagree.
just need better.
Well, I mean, it needs to be better. I agree.
Well, if you're gonna do first person, I mean, there's probably somebody who can come with a better rig with a
Yeah.
better camera.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
No, it needs a gimbal.
yeah.
It needs a gimbal. Is what you need. You need a head-mounted gimbal with a camera. That's
Yeah.
something that these like the little bobbing and back and forth is just not acceptable for the audience, and I think it detracts from the experience. I think it needs some sort of gimbal, and you need some sort of engineer in there working on the gimbal in such a way to make some of those moves. And it just needs to be 25% more stable.
Oh, okay,
Right. Well, this
okay,
is like
that's
what's
what-
crazy when I
was
heard that
confused
they're
when you said
hiring this
gimbal,
guy
sorry.
to do first person sequences in other movies. I'm like, it's gonna look terrible.
Oh, I don't
like a
I don't
full
disagree
movie,
with
you
that
know?
at all. I think that's
Really?
amazing. No, I think
I think as a
like,
stuntman, he's very
as a
interesting. But I don't know if
sequence,
as
as like having a sequence, and this sequence in another movie, that's exactly where I want this to go.
even if it like jumped to that GoPro. I mean, we remember how distracting it was in Hobbit when they went to GoPro footage for one.
No, I know.
frame.
I mean, that's the issue is they need to get like a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema type of deal, something with RAW that they're not afraid to crush, or like even like a 5D Mark III, and they just need to use a better camera than a GoPro.
Right.
You could get something small enough to work, stick it on a gimbal, make like you don't have to have this guy in the rig like 24 hours a day. It'll be brutal to shoot with, but like it's doable, and it's gonna make like an action sequence that you can cut with Alexa footage.
Well, before
And
we,
Yeah, okay,
to
yeah,
the
we're going off the deep end.
to the re- to
Before
our
we do
listeners who have
everybody-
no idea what Jack just listed off, like me, I am going to be looking this stuff up later, so I know what the hell he's talking about.
well, Peter, save us from our nerdy conversation. I know you lost your notes, unfortunately, about it. But what were some video
Oh.
games that you were saying you were feeling with this movie?
Call of Duty and Battlefield, obviously, because it's a first-person shooter the entire fucking time. I got a little bit of Mirror's Edge feel to it because of the parkour that like we saw. I got if anyone knows the game I'm talking about, Army of Two, when it was like just Henry and Colonel Jimmy fighting their way through like the abandoned motel, and then Deus Ex Human Revolution with like the cybernetic limbs, and then like I just thought of it like literally just now. A little bit of BioShock with how like Henry couldn't talk, and I'm talking about the first BioShock game where Henry couldn't talk, and he was basically getting orders from Jimmy saying, "Hey, do this, go here for this reason." So I mean,
Right. It was definitely following that route, though it wasn't as clever as Bioshock.
oh no, it was not
But,
nearly
I mean,
as clever.
it
Yeah.
comes back around to the same stupid reason. Like, it works in Bioshock,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work here because why did she order him to kill Aiken? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I guess it was like to find Jimmy, but Jimmy wasn't doing it. I don't know.
It just felt a
Doesn't-
little-
Why did Jimmy jump on it all? Like I think that's the issue. Is like my gripe comes back is like the technology is there. If this
But the
is a first
storytelling
early
wasn't.
attempt. No, that's
Yeah.
like, if this is a first early attempt at this technology, I accept it. It's good. It's fine. It's innovative. I like it. I don't have a problem with it. That is not the reason this movie has an issue. And I think that's the thing is like I think like you can tune it up and use better and like you can get an industry to come up like Blackmagic Pocket Cinema minis or something along those lines that you could use in place of a GoPro to make the system work perfectly. That's not the issue. The issue is the storytelling sucks.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is he's not. I think this is a trailer. This movie is showing what he can do so that he can go and work on productions and be the guy that just makes this stuff possible in other movies.
Right, but he already did that with a very popular YouTube video that has like 12 million views.
No, but
he already
did
has
it,
a
but
hug of
like,
attention, I feel like.
What's the
yeah,
video?
I mean, that's the thing. Is like this is a standalone movie that he made on his own, and he's like his entrance into like the West. Not the West. That sounds really fucking
Feature film?
terrible. Yeah. No, I mean it's his interest into Hollywood movies. Is what I mean. But like, I mean, I'm sure they picked him up for other things, and people were interested in working with him. At the same time, like I think like it's just like a giant. The movie's just like a demo reel. There's no plot. There's no plot. Like Batman v Superman has a more coherent plot than this
does.
movie.
You already told me that I would regret my low score.
I told you
already.
It's already gonna burn you.
Tim Hardcore Henry, son of a bitch. I was like 4. Oh, I don't know. Here's some shit from Jack.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is the thing. Like, I can push. Like, I am able to push scores lower, but like Ben cannot push scores up. So we've like crippled each other. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
No, I think you're right, and I think again it goes back to that student film thing. And again, not to rag on student films because there are smarter student films than that story, but again, it goes back to that who cares? You know, guys are just like there'll be a guy who's like a drunk guy, and he's like with a bunch of prostitutes. We're just having fun, right? Like it's that whole having fun, whatever, bro, kind of attitude. Which is the problem with it, where it's like it doesn't feel like it's made for millions and millions of people. It feels like it's made for like your friends, you know.
It feels like it's made for like a specific convention and a type of person, and I don't disagree with that. The issue is that I don't have a problem with people having that kind of vibe and feel in movies. Like there are movies made like that. Like the Fast and the Furious movies are made like that, but they're made way better.
No, Crank is the one I constantly go to. Where it's
You did mention that.
Super misogynistic, crazy all over the place, but somehow it's way better than this movie because it's more inventive and
a little bit. And I think that's the issue. Is you can have misogyny in movies if you use it in such a way as Crank did.
Right, because Crank was openly honest about the fact that it was just misogynist and racist and didn't give a shit and was insane. And
that's the point.
It knew what it was. You know what I mean? Like
you don't want to be the individual in the movie, and if the movie takes that central conceit, then it's okay to some extent. Like it's not saying look at this amazing person. It's like no, look at this insane motherfucker. Like it's fun to follow his story for a day.
Exactly, and you know that Hardcore Henry wanted you to like cheer when the girl gets killed at the end. You know what I mean? Like
that's what pissed me off. I do think that last moment actually like truly pissed me off. I mean, frankly, like after Charlton Copley died, I was just like, oh man, like I actually liked his performance in this movie, and I think we can actually have a good argument about this later. About like weird outside pieces for actors and them showing their range and things like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, like he's working with his script, so it's not like
it's totally his fault. He did the best he could.
Not like he has much to do here.
But he also got to go like 100, and he went 140. He went for it.
I mean, it's hardcore.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Ben. If you're like cast in this movie, do you turn in like a subdued performance? Like what's your options here?
You
gotta go Tim Roth and get a paycheck to be in the name of the credit and show up for 5 seconds.
Yes.
Oh my god, that was hilarious. He's like, you fucking pussy. I wonder how much he pulled. Like, I wonder if it's like we go to like the thing and it's like he pulled $1 million of the $2 million.
He's like he's second to Charlotte Copley. It's like crazy.
Yeah. I bet like Copley's like what the fuck?
I had to go around with these fucking assholes all week.
I think that's the thing.
But he looked like he had fun at least. I can
this
at least
movie
Charlotte
gave
Copley,
conceits of being more intelligent than it was, and that's why I'm not accepting of it. Like Crank was actually fairly intelligent in how it presented its wild ride story, and it does a good job. And he dies at the end, and that's the point. Like he's falling out of a copper and he's gonna die. And this movie just like
and Crank 2 literally ends with "fuck you, audience, for watching this." Like it's totally
exactly. There's an intelligence.
Yeah, it literally ends with him on fire, flicking off the camera. Like that's how it ends. Like That's the kind of ending you have to do for this movie, is to be like, fuck you, this is stupid and insane. You all are
but
part
it's
of it.
So,
you loved it. You know?
No. I disagree. I don't think.
I don't know.
think
Maybe
it
it's
takes
not the right way to do it, but I mean, this movie, at least, you're right, took it so seriously and wanted it to be like, yeah, bitch, take that. Like, that's what made me so sick about the ending.
No, exactly, and I think that's the thing, is like them throwing like the toy that keeps coming back in his memories, and the toy going against the wall, and then him talking about it, and he's like, you just got to get back up, and it's like, I was like, oh my god, it's trying to feed me an actual message. Like,
Right.
fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the thing, is when it actually tried to feed me a message in between all its like genocidal shit, I'm just like, no, thank you. You cannot be intelligent, and you can't like show me like 2/3 of this movie and then be like,
all
oh,
of
there
a
was a
sudden get
point
really
to all
serious.
this.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not how things work.
It should have been like
Inspirational
you
message,
can't
and then
murder
split a guy's
somebody with
hand
a-
in half.
it should have felt more like the game, just cause you're doing this shit just cause you can do it. There's not necessarily a story. There's not a message. There isn't
Right.
a higher calling.
Just cause. Just
Exactly.
cause.
It's just cause 1, 2, or 3. Take your pick.
You strap rockets on people because it's fun.
I can fly across the entire island. I can fly across the entire island with a parachute because I can.
And see, that's an interesting thing.
That's
You know,
how
we talk
wind
about stuff
works.
like One Punch Man or
Wapa!
you know,
Yeah.
or you think of something like
That's how
show.
you do it, Peter.
or you think of something like Saints Row 4, where like literally you're just so overpowered, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think that is way more interesting. I think you're right. A movie that did that, where it's just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna attack the Russian mob because I'm bored and I'm superpowered. Who gives a shit? Like, that's a lot more interesting. I think you're right than just.
That's
Even if
the
it
whole
was
point.
just the simple two of like rescue the girl, it's better too. It just
No,
by the end is
that's
when it gets really
exactly.
frustrating.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like the story is uncomfortable. There's uncomfortable feelings in the story, and I think that's come down to why I would rate this movie. I don't have a problem with the tech. I have a problem
I
to the.
do,
the
but I mean,
I,
I
well, no, I mean, I
understand
do. But it's not like a big problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't totally work. Like, it's like it's unfinished tech dragged out over an hour. It could work eventually. It could get there, and it could be fine. I did it like you saw. Like, the biggest issue I had was like with issues with the lens, where you would enter a room and you would see guys in the background, and the camera wanted you to focus on those individuals walking around in the background as like the scientists were coming forward, but the resolution and like the way it was focusing, it wasn't deep enough to capture them until they got really, really close to the individual. So I
And
think
it just
I think
made
there was,
like the plug-in effects look bad, even worse. You know, that's part of the problem.
Yeah,
CG
I mean,
blood sometimes look terrible.
exactly, yeah, and I think that's the thing, is like the CG and a lot of the stuff, and it was good when they were doing a lot of practical stuff, and I think that's fine. I mean, yeah, it's not perfect. It's an interesting experiment, and one that I'm more primed to appreciate if the story hadn't been that bad. And that's the thing. That's what it comes down to. It is, I am not if the story was okay, I would be an apologist for this movie.
Yeah.
It's not okay, and it's not okay how it treats its characters in certain circumstances, or how its thought processes on women or about certain things. I mean, it is a fun, bloody action ride, and I think that's okay. I don't think I want to motivate this movie up into the level of Crank.
No.
Exactly. And I think the fact that we have a Crank, which is more interesting in all
I think
those
that's the
ways,
problem.
that's
We
the
have a
problem.
Crank.
You know, we've had a movie that did
Crank
it.
happened, like, so there's no like,
Yeah,
there's no saving this.
10 years
There's a
ago.
better
Exactly.
there's a
Yeah.
better movie. You want to go see Hardcore Henry? Go see fucking Crank, and that's what you want to see.
And high voltage,
Exactly.
for that matter.
And the only thing that's different is the POV
Yeah,
stuff. But
Crank 2's good.
as we said, their rig just isn't good enough, I think, for the POV stuff to be interesting enough for me. You know.
Ben, I don't know. I don't.
I really
wanna
think
say
it's not good enough. I appreciate what they're trying to do, and it's good for like an attempt.
GoPros
and
are not the answer. I'll agree with that. Like,
trying to
GoPros
find
are not
something,
the
but it
answer.
doesn't mean it's you bring something to market that's not ready. I'm not going to say it's worthwhile. It's good as a test footage, but it's not good as a movie.
Well, I
That's
mean,
my
I
problem.
think that's the thing, is like, how much cost would it be to like upgrade to like Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras or Blackmagic Minis and all this stuff? And
Then
I'm
don't
just like,
make the movie, or don't put it on. You know what I mean? It's the thing where it's like, if you build the movie and you give it to me, I can't just go, well, I know you had so much to work with, and like
no,
I have
think
to judge the
like,
movie and
the
how
hardware,
it works. I just don't think it works.
No, Ben, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think that like the hardware could get there. I think the issue is like,
It could.
I mean, I think the biggest issue is the reason they used GoPros is because to minimize the rig, to make it because that rig was massive. even with
Yeah.
GoPros. And I
It's
think
on their
like,
head. It's like,
and I think
you
that's
don't
the
wanna
issue
break
is
your
the
neck.
lack
Yeah.
of lens change and the lack they stuck with that wide angle view. It needed to be more of a, I mean, maybe for perspective and issues, and oh my god, you see, this is the point where I'm just like, there's no winning here, like with this tech.
Damned if you
I
do,
mean,
damned if you don't.
No, I think it just needs to be built by a company and not by some dude strapping GoPros to things. Like it needs to be a ground up piece of tech put together.
Right, made for the movie. I get that.
Yeah.
Like,
Because like 3D cameras do it so much better, and like you see when they're used in different, in like VR porn and stuff.
It
this is
exists.
becoming the porn podcast.
Which I am now an expert overnight.
It's like, and here we are again.
No, I mean honestly, like you'll see VR experiences and other things that I've done, not VR porn and necessarily, but you'll see these VR experiences, and they're gonna use like two cameras with separate lenses, and they're tying them together and creating the experience after the fact, and it works well. You'll see these rigs that they build for all this stuff. And it's there. It's just like the tech is actually better in other areas. This is older tech, but I'm saying like these experiences and like ways of utilizing it. This is a really new genre for movies, and like there's not a correct rule book on how to use this shit. Like, cause like I agree with you. Like transitioning in and out of this feel is terrible right now. I'm saying like the tech will get better. It'll get there. It's not bad for this movie. Like, it's not bad for a $10 million movie, and I'm not going to rate it lower because the tech isn't quite there.
See, I am, just because I think the movie was trying to be cool looking and trying to invest in the action. The action? I got Chicago there for a second. The action and the effects, and I just don't think you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? I think that's a problem. The movie wants to be a huge, big blockbuster movie and be a cheap, tech-driven, independent action film at the same time, and that's my problem with it. And I know it's a delivery service, and maybe it's not fair, but it is a movie that's trying to be an hour-and-a-half long ride, and it doesn't succeed. I think it works as their 10-minute music video. It doesn't
is what
work
it is.
as an hour and a half. Yeah.
Like the difference between it and like Die Hard and Crank is that the movie is exhausting, and you are exhausted.
Yes.
And it doesn't have pacing, and the biggest issue is that they're using this tech, and so they're not cutting traditionally. They're not using traditional editing techniques, and so it doesn't have that delivery ebb and flow that you need to really like build yourself up to a giant explosion, which
makes
Crank
sense why
does beautifully, and that's
like
what
you
you
said,
want.
it was probably a mini. It makes more sense as a web series. Where you're like, here's the tank episode, and here's the storming the building
Perfect
episode or
fucking
whatever.
sense.
Yeah.
I mean, but I can't blame them because they're like, oh, let's just strap all this shit we made together and make $10 million off it. It's exactly what the person that making this film should have done.
But we can't blame them for the sexism.
We can definitely do it. Fuck you. And apparently there was different endings, like where one ending happened where she truly was his wife and all this stuff, and they shot endings actually apparently. And there was one ending where like he just like loves her anyways after the fact, or I don't know. I don't know the specifics of it, but I do know there were multiple endings.
Cue Whitney Houston. I will
and
always
it's funny
love you.
too because that ending like is the thing that bothers me the most. That was the one where I was like, oh, that's sexist. Fuck you.
It
And
really
it's
pushes
funny.
it over from.
It's funny because I didn't like the rest of the movie. Doesn't bother me. Like being in a brothel, like that doesn't really bother me. Like being like having all the women die. I mean, it kind of bothers me, but it's not like it's not something that I'm gonna get up
every
in
single
arms.
woman.
Having him murder his wife by cutting off her fingers, like
And letting her fall to her death out of a helicopter.
It's just too far. It's just too much.
especially when it presented such a classy way for it to resolve the conflict by like her shooting him and it bouncing off and killing her. Like that was such a classy way. I was like, oh, that's how they're gonna do it. That's a classy way to do it. And I agreed with the filmmaking, and then they just shut the door on her, and I was like, no, you idiots, you had it. You had the way to
I
hit
have
the
to agree with that though.
problem.
Like I thought
Fuck
for like a good
you.
5 seconds, like okay, that's how she goes, and it's like nope, she's still hanging by her fingers instead of like collapsing right there, or like I guess maybe even just falling out of the doors. Like nope, we're having one of those cliffhanger moments.
It had the moment. It was all fucking set up for it. That it was like, fuck you, audience. Fuck you. Fuck women. Vaginas are for losers.
This is what my ex-girlfriend was like, bitch.
Wow.
A woman left me once. I'm angry about it.
Oh boy, I'm tired. It's just a
Yeah, I'm
tiring
tired
movie.
talking about it.
I think
I think we said all this to say. I don't know if Jack, you have anything else to say.
No, I don't. I think like the biggest things for me, and we'll go into scores in a minute, but I think the biggest thing for me is like the tech is like not quite there, and the biggest issue is that he's playing with a new medium, and as a result, it just doesn't have the same ebb and flow as like better movies in the same genre. And ultimately, the biggest issue is that the story is just bad. And
I have no reason to really care about the characters.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
before I summarize too much, I did want to ask you, Ben. Well, we said it about the editing. So, all right, let's just wrap this baby up early.
Okay.
All right. So, scores. Peter, you have 30 seconds to justify your score. Hit me with it.
I'm going to give it a 3 because quite frankly, with the video games that I felt that this movie was vaguely or heavily referencing, I've just played better video games with better stories, with better characters, with more emotional connection, whether it be a shooter or an adventure or an action adventure story. I've played better video games.
Damn. Fuck.
Yep.
3. Jesus Christ. Okay, Ben, you're up.
I'm also giving it a 3. It's partially because of Batman and Superman, but also, yeah, the more I thought about it, the more it does feel like 3. As Peter said, there are better stories in video games, so it's just frustrating that this is what the mass media thinks video games are like again. But beyond
whoa,
that,
I don't say
guys.
mass media. I think it's just
Yeah.
like maybe his
no,
interpretation.
but I'm saying if this is the game that people are like presenting, like, this is what video games are like, I think a lot of people, unfortunately, who
Yeah,
don't know video games think that this is what it's like.
some of them are.
Anyways, but that's
All right.
not to way to judge a movie based on other people's opinion of it. My opinion of the movie is that the tech is just not there. They tried to do an hour and a half. It doesn't work. It works. I thought it even didn't work for the 10-minute music video. I thought it got tiring. I think they're extremely sexist. I think they're very cheap looking. I think, yes, you try to make the movie in the cheap, but that doesn't mean necessarily it achieves that. And if it doesn't have a good story and doesn't have good visuals and doesn't look good and the action isn't fun, it's not a good film. So to me, it's 3, but at least I give it a few points for. I respect people like the people who Crank and things like that who try to push the envelope, but ultimately you can see Crank or you can just see the music video, which is called, of course, Bad Motherfucker. So watch either of those two instead. It's just too long. It's just not good enough. 3.
They curse more than I do on this podcast, and that's impressive.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the name of the video is Bad Motherfucker. It just kind of shows you the kind of people who make these movies. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on. what was
And of
bet
course,
last
the
week?
music video has like a shot of a girl in giant boobs, and like that's the thumbnail, so that's probably why it's gotten like 12 million views as well, partially.
No, I know they do that thing where he like rams the GoPro head camera into like her tits, and then it's just like she's like, "Oh my god!" and smacks him. And,
Yeah.
like, that's the thumbnail, and that's like what you do on YouTube, and that's where they need to be is on YouTube, not to be offensive.
Yes.
Like I
Yes.
think that I actually think that they could do very, very well making a consistent business and interesting videos there. I think this
Hopefully,
tech
as a
at the
stuntman,
level-
he's got a good career. As a and a camera operator.
Yeah, I
As
agree.
a
I agree with
filmmaker, I hope not.
Oh, and Ben, if I could just interject before Jack, you give your score, just
ahead.
just to say, I just looked it up. The music video that you're talking about, by Biting Elbows, Bad Motherfucker. I'm guessing probably because of the director and his connection to the band and Hardcore Henry, it's now up to 33 million views.
Oh wow!
Yep, it's jumped.
Yeah, it's gonna take a bump. It was up at 1 million, and that was big for like a shitty band video.
Yeah, well, that's why I
It's
got
not that it's shitty.
attention. Was like the song sucks, but you got to watch the video. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a really bad song. Like,
Yeah, I don't even
like-
feel like
I
going
think
to
I think the
listen.
director's in the band. If I'm not
the
like
Yeah,
Smack
he
My
is.
Bitch
He is. He's in the
2013.
band.
Oh my god.
No, Smack My Bitch Up had a better ending. God damn it!
Oh my goodness.
I think Hardcore Henry is trying to just be plain stupid fun, but it forgot. I think it forgets at points that it's supposed to be stupid, and it does stupid, ridiculous things. So I think its heart is. I think the mind. Oh man, this is killing
This is
me.
great.
I think it's.
See, he says things,
I
but he
almost
remembers the
almost
ending.
said its heart was in the right place.
Yeah,
and then I
and
was
then the
like,
ending hit your
no.
head, and you're like, no, it's not.
It's
No, it's not.
But his eyeball certainly was not.
I'm forgiving. I think that's the thing is like I'm forgiving of movies being bad to women and misogyny and things and that. I am truly forgiving in certain contexts like Crank and Die Hard and other movies that are like a good action adventure. And I think my thing is that my big problems with Cranks is just like it's story structured in just a way is like if it wants to produce that effect for me, it just doesn't manage to do that, of like putting me on that roller coaster ride. And just like having a high sexy action violent roller coaster ride is totally acceptable. Having women in positions that are not necessarily the best for their role building in these kind of movies is fine, because we can have these movies and men can have these movies and women can have these movies and people can have like movies and that, and you can call them sexist but they don't care, and that's the whole point. Like I don't think it's bad to have sexist depictions of women in media. I mean, when it's the predominant depiction, it's kind of bad, but I think like in this instance it's okay. That's not why I dislike this movie. I dislike this movie, and I disagree with Ben a little bit about the tech. I think it was okay. It's not great. I agree with that. But I think the biggest problem is that he's playing with – he almost created a miniature new medium here, and he doesn't know how to use it. And I don't think that's his fault. He tried and did the best he could, but at the same time, it destroys a lot of the typical movie action editing tropes and techniques that would be really good at pointing the audience in the correct direction of what's going to happen. And thus it makes the story fall apart. And more so than – and it's based upon a crap story here. And that's the issue, is there's a crap underlying story, and it doesn't help to structure the movie, and thus it feels like a bunch of YouTube videos that are strung together. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it needed to be. And I think this would have been awesome as a YouTube series. And I can even see myself funding like a Kickstarter project like this, being like, oh my God, this would be so amazing. It's just a full movie. And then you see it, and I think like having seen it, it's like you don't always want what you know. I forget what the fucking saying is. I just died there.
You don't always get what you want.
You don't.
Be
You
careful
know,
what
you
you
can get
wish
what
for.
you want,
Yeah.
but you don't always.
Be careful what you wish for.
Oh my God! What the fuck happened to me? I just had a stroke.
What things when you don't want them?
You don't want
The
what you
thing
can't
that
always get what you
stuff-
want. Oh, but we got it. Oh my God, no.
That was
I'm sorry.
We're all so tired from this movie.
Oh my
So
God!
sad.
Clearly.
And no, it did. It like the whole thing just like sapped my energy from me. I'm just like, God, I hate it. I hate this. And I think that's the reason it's a bad movie. I mean, I've been trying to talk myself into a 5, and I can't do it. So, yep. Hardcore Henry gets
2-3 for easy math.
it gets Hardcore Henry gets a 3. Man,
Yay.
I stepped right. I was like 4, and I was like, no,
No.
fuck me. It was like, it's not that close to Batman v Superman. All right, so the movie gang gives Hardcore Henry a 3, which is, I think, to this date, will be our lowest score. And I think it'll be what everything in the future is rated against. And I think that's
That's fair. That's a better,
it's okay.
I'm okay
It's
with
better
that.
lower one.
All right, Ben, you want to take away for bets for this week?
Oh yeah, I mean, are we doing Captain America, correct?
Yeah.
So we're not going to tell the score for this one if you want people to mail it.
No. We can tell the score on the cast, but
I
hopefully,
guess we'll tell our score because we already mailed it in.
Yeah, they're not gonna. I mean, they're not gonna hear this till they give me the score. So they'll be like, I'll post this like
That's good.
Monday night, and
Cool.
they'll have given me the scores by then, theoretically.
That's good. All right, if everyone's not too busy doing whatever they do. So what we're going to do
Living
is
their
Captain
lives,
America's.
Ben.
What's that? You go outside? What's that like?
The sun.
What's Friends? What is those? Captain America's embargo actually ends kind of early, surprisingly, which could be good, could be bad, who knows? But it ends on Wednesday, so we're going to get a bunch of reviews coming in pretty soon. Jungle Book already has reviews, and I figured Captain America might be a little easier since Jungle Book we already know. A lot of people generally like it. You kind of can tell. Though obviously Harker Henry, we proved, can drop like crazy. But I feel like Captain America's score from Wednesday is probably going to be pretty much stuck, so we're going to start from there. So I'm going to say 93. I know it's really high, and I've been really bad about this lately. I think I gave Harker Henry like a 95. That was very wrong. But I feel like it's already seems like the Twitter reactions are really good. Generally, people were really salty about it, seem to like it. And I think also Batman vs Superman. I think it's a similar thing of superheroes fighting, and I think if it's better, I think some critics who normally would have been like, fatigue, Marvel, and bored. I think since they've seen Batman vs Superman, they're gonna be like, no, we like this, we want this, not Batman vs Superman. So it might be a little overrated.
This is how an ensemble superhero movie should be.
Exactly. So I'm gonna go high. I know it's way too high. It's like
I
Dark
was
Knight
about to say,
numbers.
I hate to
but
say this to you,
93.
Ben, but like we've all kept going high and like biting it. Like
It's
we're
terrible.
so optimistic
It's terrible,
about
but
movies.
I'm doing it again.
We're
I'm
surprised.
committing to the ship being
It's like-
overpraised.
We are a
We've consistently
surprisingly
done
glass
this.
half full bunch.
We are.
It's actually surprising me. We're all like, there's been somebody in the 90s on every post, and I'm just like, and then it's been like Batman v Superman, Hardcore Henry, and we just keep losing like so hard. And it's always like the last couple. Every Rotten Tomato bet that's been on here has the lowest. The person that's gone the lowest
No,
has
it makes
always
the
won.
most sense.
I should just start betting
It makes the
20%.
most sense.
I know. It's like
No. I'm living in this fantasy world one more time.
all movies
Let's
are gonna
do
be
it.
perfect.
Oh my god.
Ben, what's your score? What's your Rotten Tomatoes prediction for Captain America?
Peter?
Oh, mine.
No, I said Ben.
Oh, me or Peter?
Yeah,
That's
Ben.
not
You.
93.
93.
Doing it.
Ben,
We're doing it.
Ben said 93. Peter.
I am going to bet 80%. Yes, the Russo brothers, same guys who are directing Civil War, they did Winter Soldier, and that made I believe it has an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. So clearly they can do great work with the Captain America character. But I guess just because of like how people reacted to Age of Ultron last year, with that being like an ensemble cast, and how this is very much kind of like, at least in that regard, in the same vein, I am, at least for me personally, going to be like a little reserved and conservative on my bet for it. So 80%. I am really looking forward to it though, and I want to love it. I hope it kicks ass.
Jack is no, I know. I think that's the thing. I do think I'm being conservative because I think my bets have been consistently off here. But like it got 80. The last Captain America got an 89%. And I think that it's going to have a positive boost from the Batman v Superman contrivance. And I think that all the reviews are going to go like, you saw Batman v Superman? This is a good action comics movie. Even if you're tired of action comics movie.
Who cares?
Like, I mean, superhero movie. Like, this is what it's good for. And I think that that's going to lead to a positive boost. So I'm going to say 85%. I think that the public is pretty negative right now on movies. I think like an 89 is probably perfect. I think an 85 is probably where I want to do because I've been consistently over betting. So dropping it by 4 points is a good idea for me, I guess. But
I probably should go to 90, but I'm sticking. I'm going high.
no, 93 sounds
Do
good.
it.
You stay up there. So we had
I like
one
it.
post in the chat at this time, which is we had one post from Bobby who said 70%. So she's probably gonna win.
Yeah, we'll be 44. I'm like, what is
Like,
keep
what the
happening?
Why are we just so bad at picking Rotten Tomato scores?
So many
Ferracci
reasons.
lied to me again.
All right, so it's gonna be a little complicated this week. So our bet for this week was Hardcore Henry, and
Oh,
because
goodness.
of that, here's what happened. Here's
I
how it
did
broke
not
down.
win, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Trevor had 80% for Rotten Tomatoes. Sarah had a 75. Peter had 85. Ben had 90. I had 89. And that's that. So
So
me,
was Trevor's-
Peter, and Ben were 85, 90, and 89.
So does someone need to do Sarah's voice and pretend to be?
The Hardcore Henry score at this moment is at 51%.
damn.
Oh,
Well, I will.
boy, we're bad at this.
And if it's any consolation for us, though, I will say we were not as far off as we were for Batman v Superman. We were not as far off of that. We're still
I don't
off.
think anyone saw. Even people.
I'm glad we
hated
could
that
have
movie
like an
before it came
argument
out.
over who's the worst loser, Peter.
hey, glass half full. We are a glass half full group. I'm sticking to that.
Like our winners are winning by like when they're 30 points away from the actual score.
30, 50 points, whatever.
Like Sarah won with a 75% and the score is 59. She's not even within 20 points.
Oh Lord.
51, 60, 71%. She's not within like 25 points of the score. Oh my
goodness.
god.
Is there a curve on this
Hopefully
test?
someone will be close.
All right,
this
so here's
time.
what's going to happen. The person on the podcast. So for the season at the year, I'm counting up each person that wins a point, and the person that essentially wins the most points wins the podcast for the year and gets a big prize at the end. Sarah gets the point. But to close out the podcast, the next closest winner gets to close out, i.e., Peter, you get to close out
With
the
anything?
Hardcore Henry podcast. Yeah. You get 30 seconds, and you get to just go and run, and me and Ben can't talk. All you, bud.
Okay, my 30 seconds. Let me just talk about a song that I'm obsessing about right now because I love music. Shut up. I'm late to the game on the song, but I am loving Carly Rae Jepsen's "Run Away with Me." Yes, I love it right now. I'm obsessed. I am unapologetically obsessed. I love the saxophone that comes in the beginning. It sounds so happy. I smile when I listen to that song. I love it. I love it. Anyway,
Can I just...
No, you can't talk.
Nope.
You can't talk.
Nothing.
Shit.
Nothing. Anyway, to all of our listeners of the Movie Game Podcast, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you got at least some kind of insight out of it. Much like me, I'm guessing you're probably going to go look up all of the technical shit that Ben and Jack were talking about. Until next week, we hope you tune in next time. Peace.
Woo! That was good.
No, that album is legitimately amazing. I agree.